The YELLKAOS program is intended for mature audiences. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the YELLKAOS program for Monday, July the 2nd. It's good to see you again on Monday. We're going to do this audio style. I know there's going to be some disappointed people, but I have to be perfectly honest before we get the show rolling. It is a mess in here, and I just can't be showing these things on the internet. So if you guys will indulge me, we're going to do this, and you don't have to look at me. See, that's the best part. So I'm going to spare all of you, all of your feelings, and we're going to do this thing. So welcome to the program. Before we get going, I want to make sure that, and this is probably the part you're going to skip over, for those of you watching me on your set-top boxes using your 10-second fast-forward thing, that's probably what you're going to do. But you can find me on all your social media outlets, on the Twitter, on the Facebook, on Instagram, on every damn thing, I think. I think I do something on SoundCloud. There's a really poor recording of me covering iced earths watching over me. So you could do that if you look for me on SoundCloud. Please do. Please look for me, because and if you have a social media presence of some kind, and whatever your preferred platform, look for me on there. I might be on there. Who knows? Alpha Omega Sin talked me into all kinds of shit some years ago. So I just might be on there, and I just might get an email that you heard it. So please do. Thank you for all of that, and welcome to the program. Oh, goodness gracious, there's so much to talk about. I've been gone for a little while. And don't forget, I will be answering your questions later on in the show. But I've been away, even though I said I wasn't going to be away, and that I find that to be a shame. I really wish that I didn't have to go away, but there was some unpleasantness, and I. See, nothing works around here. There was some unpleasantness earlier in the month. I knew that the last time when I last left you, I said that I would be right back. I said that, I would do the very same thing next week if I didn't have another video come out. And I also talked about some of the family problems that I've been dealing with. And I have to tell you that someone very important in my life, a direct influence on the YELLKAOS program and the things that I do, the things that I say, the reasons I say them. My maternal grandmother, my mother's mother, passed on just a couple of weeks ago of breast cancer that spread into her spine and took her from my life sooner than I had expected. There was a diagnosis that she would live sometime from the time that we found this out, 7 months to 2 years. Coming to find out, it was actually only about 3.5 weeks. And it was a serious blow. I can't say I didn't expect it, because I knew she was sick. And that's why I devoted every spare moment I had. I tried to be with her. She, as is typical with old people, they move into the desert when they get on in years. And she was way out there in Palm Springs, California, myself being here in San Diego. And it's a bit of a drive. It was a drive when I was a kid. And this is before several million more people have moved into the state of California. And if you're thinking about coming to Southern California, you should understand that traffic is every day, every single waking day. So you should be prepared for that. How more people don't just get out of their cars and jump off bridges, I don't know. It's pretty terrible stuff. But I did not get to spend as much time with her as I had wished. And no, I shouldn't have expected anything less. These diagnoses came from similar doctors who told us that if they removed one of her breasts, that they would get all the cancer and she would live a long, fruitful life and blah, 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 blah. Doctors tell you all sorts of shit because it's their job to tell you things. And not to blame the doctor, not to blame anybody involved in this, because all the medical professionals I dealt with, which was very few, a lot of this is resting on my mother, herself being the oldest child, myself being the oldest child to her. So some of that does fall on me, but almost all of it is falling on my mother. And she was great. She's being as strong as she can. But what can you say about these things? So where have I been? That's where I've been. That's been the family unpleasantness. that has proliferated a bit of the conversation on my social media channels over the last little while. So I just wanted that out there, and make sure that you guys understand I'm not neglecting you. I find it amazing with all the choices that you have to inform you, to entertain you, in the social media space and otherwise. You choose this program. You choose to keep coming back, and I thank you wholeheartedly, absolutely, with no sarcasm or irony of any kind. I thoroughly mean that. And also, thank you for indulging me that we can appear here in audio. I hope to do this a little bit more if I can appear in audio, because then I don't have to shave, because it sucks. For all the young men listening to this program that don't have to shave very much, you're not missing anything. Don't worry. You know, shit. Don't look forward to that. And if there's any young kids at all, don't grow up. Just don't. It sucks. And you'll see, and growing up will teach you, and well, maybe not teach you, but at least give you an inkling of an idea of why nostalgia in social media is so relevant. I shouldn't say relevant, but prevalent. There it seems like a lot of people just want to remember a simpler time, and there's nothing wrong with that, nothing at all. But that's what sells the best. Before you knew that the world was out to get you, that's what everyone pines for. They want that feeling, and you can't turn back the hands of the clock. You can't turn the tide. It's just what it is. So anyway, with that having been said, I'm going to have a sip of water, and I want to say hello to everybody. If I was late to the program. Now, for those of you listening to this in a rerun, you don't know this, but I was late to the program. I said I would be here at a certain time, and I was late because I couldn't tear myself away from the Boss and Burf streaming Xenogears on the PlayStation 1. He's one of my favorite guys to do the Let's Plays and the playthroughs, because well, number one, and I'm gonna make fun of him right now. He's got a real folksy kind of homey way of talking there, and that speaks to me. It really does. So Jason, I want you to know that you do a great job, and it's a real homey way, and it's real nice to hear you say these things about video games. So great guy over there, the Boss and Burf. If you get a chance, check him out. He does some great work over there. And again, just a real nice guy to boot. Jason and I don't get to talk as often as I'd like. I hope to turn that around before too long. So I couldn't tear myself away from that, so that's why I was late. But here I am, and here to talk about a few things that have been on my mind. I don't know if you guys knew this, and I talked about this in the last program, but I am now and I never talked about it before. For the longest time, I was a Disneyland annual pass holder when I lived in Anaheim. If you remember my videos from way back when, Monday Night Chaos happened on Monday night, because on Tuesday I would go to Disneyland. And, now it's the really hip thing to shoot yourself, doing stuff at Disneyland. Back then, they were touchy about you flipping out a camera and things. Now it's just the totally common thing. So, but I was doing a whole bunch of that. Now that I've moved here to San Diego, I've realized that, as I've talked about, that, Legoland's right down the street, and I never thought to go. And I've really taken a shine to the place. I enjoy it. I could point out all sorts of things that are wrong with it, and all the things I know about entertainment, and having, worked in a few amusement parks in my time. You can just tell, don't I just sound like one of those people? But I've taken a real shine to the place, and I am now a Merlin Entertainment premium annual pass holder. And because it just seemed like the best deal of all the stuff there, and since I live not too far away, it makes sense. But I got to go today to see if I could get a glimpse of the brand new Lego City Deep Sea Adventure ride that they just opened up there, and not a chance. No, sir. No way. No how. A lot of rides at Legoland will give you a very, how would I describe this? I guess a lofty waiting time. A lot of the times when they say 45 minutes, they mean about 28 to 30 minutes. You know, they try and give you a bit of a buffer there, you know, just so you don't get too unrealistic with your expectations. But I saw no sign telling me how long the wait was, but I would guess a few hours. And I said, no, sir, no, thank you. Because I found this out because Mrs. YELLKAOS, if you remember her, still married to me. Can you believe that? She used to work there, and I understand that place is absolutely death, absolutely empty come September. So I'm excited to experience that. Because as much as as an aside, I've always thought that I didn't like children for the longest time, which is why I don't have any. If you didn't know that, I don't have any children of my own. Now I think I've done a video with my nephew, my brother's son, but that's not my kid. That's my nephew. But I don't dislike kids. I dislike parents. That's something I've noticed about myself. So when I go to Legoland, people in their strollers, my goodness, you think people drive their cars poorly. You should see how they drive these, and these strollers now are amazing. I don't know if we have any parents in the audience, but these strollers, oh my gosh, they're like Humvees. They've got a compartment for this, and they're armored on one side, and apparently they're really heavy, or people just have really fat children. That could be it. In fact, having just come from Legoland, I can tell you there are very fat children. That's no lie. But anyway, aside from the fat children and me not liking parents, quite a line over there at Legoland. Now, from the Lego City Deep Sea Adventure, I thought it was very interesting because upon getting into the parking lot, I said, oh, there's some folks here. And getting through the front gate, no problem. Getting through all of Legoland, not much of a problem. And then I found where everybody was. They were at the Deep Sea Adventure. And the kids over at Legoland, all those young kids that work the lines, and even the people that have been there for a while, the older folks, they have a system. They know what they're doing. They really do. So much respect to them. And after that, I went over and found my way, because it's a little warmer day here in Southern California, as I guess it is in much of the country. And I went over to the water park because I had this lofty freaking idea that on a warm day I could get in there and wet my feet and see what was going on. And I saw, some of the largest land mammals I've ever seen with very little clothing on. It was quite something. And, not only that, is how the things that women will wear to an amusement park that is aimed at small children and their families. My gosh, I saw tattoos in places that I don't think you should put tattoos. Goodness gracious, and things going way up here. And I saw a trio of, I was going to say young ladies, but I'll say women my age and slightly younger, with hairdos, big curly, weavy, colored hairdos at the water park. Big old, probably $75, $80 hairdos at the water park where they're going to get all wet and ruined. I just, I don't want to tell people how to live their lives, but getting your hair all dressed up and everything right before you go and submerge it in chlorinated water, probably not the best use of your money. Just saying. Now, am I a grooming expert? No, but I know not to get my hair did right before I get into chlorinated water. I know that. So with that having been said, welcome to the program. I want to say hello to some nice people who are here. Luis Rosa is sympathizing with me on not wanting to get all cleaned up because, yes, beard maintenance can be quite something. I trimmed the beard quite a bit because it is getting a little unruly. But still, even that, requires a little bit of a little bit of maintenance. So I appreciate you guys being understanding. And again, it's much easier for me to make this sort of content because I don't, then you don't have to look at me and I don't have to be self-conscious about my appearance and whatever the hell else is behind me on the game shelf or all these things. Because, a lot of people go to great lengths to show their collections to you. That's a soft form of marketing to convince you that they're on your side if you didn't know that. It's very subtle brainwashing, if you didn't know that. I also noticed that a lot of people are getting away with doing these audio only things, and I figured, why not me? You know, all the Star Wars pricks, pardon me for my mature language, they get to get away with, not having Razor Fist never even shows his face, which reminds me, Dynamic Kirby, is saying some nice words, and he hopes he can get another 8-Bit podcast. There will be no more 8-Bit podcast. Well, I'm not saying that I will never work with Alpha Omega Sin again, because Alpha Omega Sin is, I guess he hasn't been doing videos. That's what I've heard. Is a really great guy, and he's a guy with his own problems and his own challenges, just like everybody. So we can't really get a schedule together, and I don't know. Maybe he's heard everything from me that he could possibly want to hear. So that might be the case. We still follow each other on Instagram and all that stuff. But I will not work with Razor Fist anymore. I'm gonna say that right here in front of everybody, doing it via audio. But I will not work with Razor Fist anymore. Razor Fist clearly does not want to work with me. He does not return phone calls or text messages. So please don't hold your breath for any more content with the two of us working together, because again, I think maybe he's just heard me say everything that he's wanted to hear me say, and doesn't seem interested in working with me anymore. So please don't hold your breath. I just want to say that. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out there. And if you didn't know about that, what I was trying to do there was plug my presence on Instagram, because I kind of dig Instagram. I get to share photos, and it's photos are, pictures worth 1,000 words and all that stuff, so you can do that. And Nick Canfield's here. Sup, Nick? How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Now, folks, if you're hearing this and you're wondering who I'm talking to, or no, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it right there in the comment section, because now they do it live. It's fantastic, you guys. It's really come a long way. YouTube almost works. You don't know how good you have it. You really don't, because things are, I won't say they're better, but they flow more smoothly than they did in the dark times. There might be dark times coming again soon. We don't know. But delicious water from a bottle this time, not from the Big Damn Cup. Big Damn Cup is on vacation. We hope to have him back before too long. So yeah, please follow me on Instagram and see all that stuff I do, and please do. So what is it that I wanted to talk about today? Like I haven't talked about anything yet, right? Something I wanted to talk about, and this is maybe something that you guys can help me figure out. And if you want to tell me anything and you don't think you're getting through to me on the social media channels, please grab me at the YELLKAOS Program at gmail.com. Please do. That way we can exchange ideas. It'll be like all like bitching, like how adults are supposed to be, exchanging information and not just pretending to give a shit about a game featuring other men who get paid to throw a ball around. That's a major frustration I've had in my adult life. I want to say that first and foremost, is that most men my age know what kind of booze they like, what kind of food they eat, and they know the NFL, and that's all. And that's very frustrating to me. So if you wonder what my feelings are on things like that, those are my feelings. I find that very frustrating, that men my age know football, church, and they play softball with their friends from work. And I cannot sympathize with any of that. So we're supposed to be talking about nice things. Good gosh. But I want you guys to know that I want you to know that I am a frustrated YouTuber, because here's something that I've been struggling to understand, because there's so many personalities on YouTube, and everybody's got like 45 channels. They've got a channel for this and a channel for that, and they subdivide all the content. And I don't know, to me that just looks like, no, I can't really talk smack, because I don't produce nearly as much content as I used to, and I'm trying to find ways to reverse that, because I find that so many people get bogged down in the video editing process of making it look pretty. It's like, no one's going to believe that you're in a television studio. So you're spending a lot of time, money, and effort to create that illusion. If you hear some summertime sounds outside, it's because the windows and the doors are open. A little warm day here, so trying to air out this room. You can probably hear the birds. It's it sounds like I'm coming to you from Wild Kingdom. See, that's the great thing is the natural environment can really work out in these instances, because if I were in a studio, I would have to pay for that. I'd also have to pay for the sound of the squeaking chair. So, all of this is just provided free by nature. So, never underestimate what you already have. Shut up, dog! Dog's arguing with me from down the street. What a world. Anyway, and everybody's got a different channel for everything. This channel's for their vlogs, and this channel's for what they like to do, and this channel's for the things they don't like to do, and this channel's for, I've seen some guys that this is the one for Lego, and this is the one I do for Mega Bloks, and this is the one I do for Playmobil, and this is the one for Star Wars toys, and it's just insane. And I'm still trying to understand, like, hey, how do you manage all of that? And B, why would you manage all of that? It just seems like a big old pain in the balls, and maybe I'm missing something. I must not know how to exploit the ad algorithms very well. It's just, that's something that's been on my mind. It's like, gosh, how many channels do you need? But anyway, another thing that frustrates me is of my varied interests. I always wonder what other people, I beg your pardon, just came back from soup plantation. If you don't know what soup plantation is, you must be in an area where they call it sweet tomatoes. But some people, that'll get a pop with certain people it won't. But just had some of that Santa Fe black bean chili, vegan chili, because why not? That's the best thing I can think of. It's why not? But I'm just trying to figure out, what kind of content I can bring, because I have thoughts, ideas, feelings, clearly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be spouting them right here in front of you and arguing with a dog like other grown people do. But I have so many interests, and it just seems like there's so many other people talking about things, and I don't know how to present them to you. But if you don't know this already, I love guitars, and there's so many people talking about guitars. And that's another frustrating thing about guitars. If I could talk about guitars right now, and you're probably not going to care, you're probably one of those people who came here because I talked about video games. Video games piss me off too, but almost to the point where I don't really care anymore. It's the difference between, hype and heat and change the channel heat. I've come to the point where I just don't want to hear it anymore. It's like, yeah, fucking microtransactions and yeah, multiplayer that's not going to be available in 2 years. Great. I'm excited or something, and you can only be mad about that stuff for so long. So that's why my video game content has kind of dried up. Though I do hope to see, and I've wanted to talk about video game music for so long because I love video game music. In fact, something I was thinking about while I was at Legoland is a lot of I really love a lot of the early PlayStation releases on the Sony PlayStation 1, because I believe, knowing the little I know about the Nintendo PlayStation or the Sony, whatever, the thing they were doing with the Super Nintendo, that prototype that passed around over the summer, got around like herpes. It did. It was over at this convention. It was at that expo. Hell, it's great. Look at it. What does it do? Nothing. Oh, great. I'm glad I paid $50 to fly to Baltimore to see this. Great. Fantastic. But I realized that I don't know if it would have been a game changer, because the video game music discussion has always been kind of, in my circle, a very buried discussion. So if any of you want to talk about video game music, I'd be glad to do that any old time, at any old place. But some of the music, because there's some early PlayStation games you could tell were probably supposed to be on the Super Nintendo and then got shifted over to the PlayStation when sales on the Super Nintendo slowed. And I think those games, I think Nintendo missed a great opportunity. But then again, I don't know if anybody really cares about that stuff besides me and a small group of people, unlike Overclock Remix and all those people. So anyway, so that's something. And also, I have really come, if you don't know, I've really come to enjoy building blocks, Lego and in particular. I've come to really enjoy that. And there's a lot of people, oh God, this is going to sound mean, but there's a lot of people doing doing the Lego content, who I don't know if they know it or not, come off as total creeps. Just because I chalk it up to a direction thing, but they always just have these blank stare. I kind of wish I turned the camera on now, but I'm not going to. Just these blank stares. Hello, and today we have from Lego 2,000 pieces from the Brickheads line. Just like Stepford Wives. And they're supposed to be very passionate about this, but they don't strike me as very passionate. They're just very stilted, and I think it's just a matter of people wanting to be perceived as big time when your passion will carry you through that. So now I'm just bad mouthing everyone else's program. But Adam Eugene Stencil wants to know if I like Mega Bloks. I like Mega Bloks a little. When I first did a big grab and decided to start building up my collection of blocks, I would go. There's a place, I don't know if they have them around the country, called discount store called Ross, and some of that stuff showed up at Ross. And I found that I enjoyed the Mega Bloks figures, and it's clear to me that Mattel through Mega Bloks is selling action figures. The blocks, the brick pieces, are clearly an afterthought. They are just not of the quality that you would find in Lego brick. And that might sound biased, and it probably is, but in the same essence, I will tell you that of a lot of the products I use, that's the way I feel about Nintendo products. They're of good quality. They may not be they may not be everything to everybody, but they're damn good quality products. And that's one thing that I enjoy about them, is just, and to feel them through it, because I do have, thanks to going to, antique stores and thrift stores and stuff, come across a little bit of it here and there. And to have the legacy stuff, the old stuff, still be, feel of such great quality. And compared, and I think the newer stuff is even better. I just think it's fun for me to just handle such a high quality product when we're in an era where children's toys are made out of crap. It's really a shame. I could badmouth the Star Wars figures. In fact, I think I will. They suck. You want to know why they're not selling? It's because they suck. Go to any Target, any Walmart in America, and you'll see them overflowing on the shelves because they suck. Movie or no movie, regardless of all of that, if the toys were any good, the kids would want them. In fact, I'll tell you a story. The Gaming Godfather keeps saying hi to me. So, Gaming Godfather, hello. Thank you for coming. I'm so glad to see you. I can't see what your avatar is, but hopefully somebody else can look at it for me and tell me what it is. But hi, glad to see you. I was over at the big shop in Legoland. In Legoland, California, where everything is awesome. That's what I heard. And there was a kid buzzing around the store, and he had two parents, people clearly my age, pushing him toward the Star Wars Lego, which there's a big section of Star Wars Lego at the big shop. And this kid didn't want Star Wars. The parents wanted him to have Star Wars, and the mother, who, like I said, was clearly about my age, just starts bad-mouthing the new Han Solo film. Say, no, that's the new Solo. You don't like that. Here's C-3PO. You'll like that. Like, let the kid make his own decision. And they're probably just trying to steer him away from the girls, the friends and stuff, because people are afraid of their little boys playing with things that are pink and purple, because you're a bunch of bigoted assholes and don't even realize it. See, I thought this was going to be a nice program. My gosh. But that's something I thought was interesting. It's like people are pushing their kids towards a particular brand because that's what they like. Because a lot of parents, and that's why I don't like parents, they're not carrying on their name or pushing on their legacy. They're manufacturing themselves a friend. And that's pitiful and pathetic. It's good for you to be friends with your kids. It's so important for you to be friends with your kids. But that's the only reason you had one. You're a selfish dick. I just want to say that. I really do. What a manic depressive podcast this has turned out to be. Nicholas wants to know, how do I feel about modern WWE figures? I don't like them. Let me have a sip of water. Hold on. But I've never liked WWE figures. I've never appreciated them. Even the old ones when I was a kid, when they were new, because they were not of very good quality. I mean, if you have one, If you have one that's still in good quality, and you probably do, like the Ultimate Warrior with the spring action, it's because they suck. They don't look like what they're supposed to look like. Some of them do, but they're all cartoony. It all looks like stuff from Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. I didn't like them then, and now I don't get I saw WWE zombie figures. What on earth is that? And maybe it's just because I'm one of these people who are still stupid enough to want to think of professional wrestling as a sport, because there's a referee and a bell. Call me crazy. Nick Canfield says that his daughter only wants the little blind bags. See, now that's interesting to me because, in fact, it was so cute. I understand there's ways of feeling through the blind bags to find out what's inside to know. And I saw some kid at Legoland doing that. He's like, "Mom, I got to get this one," because he knew what was inside. He's probably searching. I think the big one is the cop, the classic Lego cop. So, so he could probably turn around and flip it and sell it on Bricklink or something. But that's very interesting. And apparently the Chris Benoit WD figure has a choking hazard on the package. That's lowbrow, Nick, and you know it. You're better than that. You are sullying the name of Missouri. Let's not have that now. You could have made a much better joke. See, I don't know how you work wife beating into modern action figures, but there's a way. There's got to be a way. See, I did it. I was discussing. Let me be discussing. You don't be discussing. You're a good person. Spenciferous wants to know my thoughts on The Cure. I like Love Song, and there was one other song they did. To me, the Cure songs don't really stand out from one another, and I'm so sorry to say that to any goth music fans. It just doesn't, and I apologize if it's that way. So, Dynamic Kirby wants to know: speaking of Star Wars, did I like The Last Jedi? No, I thought The Last Jedi was awful. If for being a Disney movie, I could quote another Disney movie, which is pick a plot line, Rian Johnson. Are you writing a movie or are you trying to, it was ridiculous. There was so much double backing that I got whiplash. No, I did not care for The Last Jedi whatsoever. I could do a whole program on why I don't like The Last Jedi. It would probably have a lot of cursing. I think I heard a pop. I think people would love to hear me use the F word a bunch about Star Wars. I think I might. I think I will one of these times. Maybe I'll have to get a new channel to do that because I guess that's what you do. Adam Eugene Stansel wants to know my thoughts on Toys R Us going out of business. Good. That's what you get. That's what you get for dominating a market and then watching that market come back and dominate you. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. Toys R Us was out of business years ago. They just closed the stores. Let's be perfectly honest. Those places were busy for like 9 days in December, and that was really about it. And they also, manipulated prices on Lego, and they can kiss my balls for that. Goodbye, Toys R Us. Let's not pretend that all that many jobs are going to be lost. Distribution jobs, sure, but those people will find work. Retail people, there was like 2 or 3 damn people in every one of those stores, and they all smelled like the 1980s. I have no love for Toys R Us. Toys R Us can bite it. And all these people hurrying to get a fucking video of it. You bottom feeders. Referring back to professional wrestling, that's not a referee, it's an official. Well, then what is Tony Gurria? Because he's wearing a guacamole colored jacket. I don't expect you to answer that, but Louise Rosa wants to know if I heard the latest Ghost album. No, I've talked about this before. I don't care for Ghost. I think Ghost is boring. I'm sorry to disappoint anybody. So I if you're not following along here in the comment section, apparently I'm getting lots of support for me bad mouthing Star Wars, and I don't want to bad mouth Star Wars. I like Star Wars. I just found Star Wars in a way. I mean, in the time that Janine and I have been married, I've really adapted to Star Wars because my brother-in-law, her brother, really enjoys it, and we have to watch all of the movies somewhere between Christmas and New Year's. And I got used to it, and I, leaned into it. And now, I think compared to episode 7 and episode 8, the first episodes 1, 2, and 3 shine. They are turds polished to a shine. They moved up the ladder without doing anything. And I guess that's the magic of movies. That's what I think. So, anyway, let me drink my water again, because I'm shouting and using the F word, and apparently that, gives you dry mouth. And by the way, I have no ill will towards Jeffrey the Giraffe. Well, except for those creepy Jeffrey the Giraffe Lego sets. That was, what the hell was that? That was just, yeah. It was just creepy. It was just creepy. Max Johnson says that his favorite prequel is The Phantom Menace. I was defending The Phantom Menace, and I think I will. I'm going to do that right now before I get to, because I do have a few other prepared remarks, don't I? Yes. I'm going to, we can talk about that later. Because something I do want to do before I tee off on this real quick is I do want to have a mature discussion of Lego, because I feel there's not enough of that. The what do they call them? AFOLs, adult fans of Lego. That is a growing segment of the economy. And if you think it isn't, and they're just, these weirdos on the internet, you're mistaken. That's a really strong segment. And these people need to be taken seriously. And I think Lego needs to take better advantage of that. So, but we're going to talk about that coming up. But anyway, The Phantom Menace. I was defending The Phantom Menace. Mostly I was defending Jake Lloyd and Natalie Portman and condemning George Lucas, because a lot of people are bad through that film anyway, bad mouth Jake Lloyd's performance, the kid that played Anakin Skywalker. And I think that's unfair. I think that's absolutely unfair. Because they're working with nothing. They're working against green screens, and they're not, very well-versed actors. And George Lucas, up to that point, I look back in his filmography and a lot of experience, and he has no discernible experience working with kids that age up to that point. Which is why you'll notice he never did it again. He's the kids in the Revenge of the Sith episode 3 are better. Definitely better, so he'd learned his lesson, but they're less of a prominent role. So Jake Lloyd is, he's not great, but it's not his fault. That's the thing. And if you take time to really wrap yourself up in the, let's face it, stupid politics that are going on, and do not pretend that Earth politics are not even more retarded than that portrayed in The Phantom Menace. If you really wrap yourself up in that, it turns into a really interesting film. It really does. In fact, the one thing I was telling Mrs. YELLKAOS the other night when we were watching Rogue One, and I said, whose fault this is? She said, who? I said, this is Qui-Gon Jinn's fault. And she said, why? And I said, because Qui-Gon Jinn's death is what sets this whole thing into motion, the whole Darth Vader thing into motion. Qui-Gon Jinn, F you and your midichlorians. I deny the midichlorians. I consider that like phrenology. Like, that's not really medicine. Just because it was at one time doesn't mean that it is now. But Qui-Gon Jinn's passing allows this to go on, because Obi-Wan Kenobi was not ready to take on this kid. When Qui-Gon Jinn said Obi-Wan Kenobi was ready, he was passing Obi-Wan off, because Obi-Wan was just going to take on some other Padawan learner or work with the younglings or something. He wasn't going to do anything serious. He wasn't going to take on the kid that would bring balance to the Force, the most important, the one that the prophecy spoke of. That's not what he was dealing with. Obi-Wan Kenobi was not ready. So if Qui-Gon Jinn had lived, we'll be telling a much different tale. But of course, that's how it works. So always remember that. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace is important for that reason. It explains to you that if we had kept Qui-Gon Jinn, we would not have this mess. Now, if we didn't have this mess, then we wouldn't have Star Wars, and then that kind of defeats the whole thing. But that's aside from the point. Anyway, so that's in a nutshell how I feel about the Phantom Menace. I hope to get a chance to rap about this at length. Nicholas wants to know, since I'm from California, did I ever get to see Disgorge or Deeds of Flesh in their prime? Yes, I did. I got to see both Disgorge and Deeds of Flesh. Disgorge I saw down here in San Diego somewhere, and Deeds of Flesh I got to see in a place called the Showcase Theater in Corona, California. And the Showcase Theater, I'm going to use a bad word again, is an asshole of a club if I'd ever seen one. I think this place was like supposed to be storage for the 99-cent store that was next door or something. It was a pit. It was a hole. It was just Disgorge with Maddie Way. I don't recall. But yeah, the Showcase Theater is not a good place. Corona, California is not a good place. But anyway. Oh, I beg your pardon. Nick Campy wants to know how I feel about the Sesame Street program. I haven't seen the Sesame Street program lately. When I was a kid, I remember it being okay. I don't remember seeing it a lot, but I like the Sesame Street program. I think I've made my feelings known about Cookie Monster. I think Cookie Monster is the freaking man, and I notice that every time that PBS needs money, the Children's Television Workshop or whatever, that whenever they need money, they send the Cookie Monster, and the Cookie Monster goes on NPR and says, I think something and cookie and all that. And people laugh, and then they get their money. Cookie Monster is a public relations machine. And I don't know. I can't help but respect that. I have to say that honestly. Nicholas wants to know what year it was that I saw Disgorge. I want to say that was 2003, I want to say 2003. So anyway, I don't know what the rest of the program. So I hope to bring you some strange mismatch in some way of all the things I'm interested in, and show off my guitar. I never play guitar for you people, and you people, I apologize. A lot of people give me a hard time saying, why don't you do that more? And I don't know. I've told you before, I'm not good at writing songs. I'm great at, dreaming up riffs and bits and pieces. And now I'm going to see if you guys will just like the bits and pieces. They're not going to be terribly long songs. So I've actually thought about covering in its entirety the PlayStation 1's Tetris Plus, which by Natsume, published by Jalico. I've thought about covering that soundtrack because that's a fantastic soundtrack. And I've also thought about covering the Jet Moto 2 soundtrack, which might be fun as well. So hopefully I get to do something like that. But I hope to bring all of these things to you in one way or another. I will be dedicating very little time to modern video games, because who cares? When good games come out, I'll talk about it. When bad games come out, I'm going to ignore it. I'm just plain going to ignore it. Nick Canfield says, so I'm saying that Cookie Monster is a bigger draw than Roman Reigns. I am absolutely saying that. I'm just going to let that stand there. The Cookie Monster draws money. Roman Reigns, I don't know. People keep telling me he's a great wrestler, and I would really like to see some evidence. If somebody has videographic evidence of Roman Reigns, like, doing some great performance, some match that I've not seen, please point me in the right direction. I beg of thee. And while you're doing that, you can also take time to find me on the social media, on your Twitter, on your Facebook, on your Instagram, on your SoundCloud and all that. If you enjoy a social media platform, search my name, you'll find me. And if I'm not there, then that platform probably sucks. So there's that. But yeah, the Cookie Monster draws more money than Roman Reigns. I don't have figures to back that up, but 7 million people can't be wrong. Actually, yes, they can. They absolutely can. So Dinette Kirby wants to know my favorite video game soundtracks. Well, there's two right there. It's Tetris Plus and Jet Moto 2 for the PlayStation 1. Any of the Legend of Zelda games, of course. Well, not all of them would qualify as my favorite, but anyway, I get when I start thinking about that, my eyes like glazed over. One that's really great that I hope to talk about at some point is Gradius 3 for the Super Nintendo. Just a great soundtrack, despite the slowdown. You have to make certain exceptions for the game itself, but another fantastic selection as far as music. And I think one that's my favorite and always will be is Double Dragon. Not an amazing game, a game that's not aged terribly well, especially when compared to its sequel, Double Dragon 2. Double Dragon 2, again, having a great soundtrack. But Double Dragon, definitely. And also Contra. Contra, absolutely. And moreover, here's the thing. Super C for the NES, I think, has a better soundtrack, but the first Contra soundtrack is more iconic. So, or Probotector or whatever it was called where you were. So, if you guys are following along in the comment section, Nicholas over here with the King Diamond avatar is just giving me a history lesson on on Disgorge. And thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate that. I remember, I was never able to keep up with all the different death metal and grindcore bands and their personnel. I just know that Kevin Talley played for everybody. I think he played in my band. I don't know because he never hangs around very long, but I have reason to believe he may have played in my band for like half an hour and then just quit, which is kind of his way. So if you didn't know, Kevin Talley, the drummer for, well, freaking everybody, because in death metal, there's like 6 drummers. There's Kevin Talley, George Colias, Pete Sandoval, Paul Mazurkiewicz, and 1 or 2 other people, and they play for everybody. I'm sure it's a little different now, but in the last few years, it seems like that was the way it was. Lupacillo's here making anti-Semitic jokes, so please forward your complaints directly to him. He was making Lego jokes on my Instagram earlier, which reminds me, don't forget, check me out on Instagram because I love to, post pictures. I didn't think I would. And you get to see my friend Art. Get to free my I'm all mixed up. You get to see my friend Art and all the adventures we have. We went to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park not too long ago, and we went to Legoland today, but I didn't get any very good pictures. So, but please, keep an eye out for that. Speaking of great game soundtracks, Parasite Eve. That's great. That if I remember correctly, I really have to revisit that one. I think I will right after this program, because we are getting to the end of the program. So I want to thank you all for coming out to see me. I really appreciate it because I know you could, sit around and listen to anybody. So, and here we are. So thank you so much for taking your time. And Kid Shoryuken gets here right as I'm about to wrap up the program. I don't know what it is about you Japanese fellas. They say they can't get marijuana there, but it seems like you guys are late to everything. My gosh. But Yuke, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. F-Zero on the SNES, another great selection for soundtrack. That's another one that I really wanted to cover. I really want that. And Kid Shoryuken's going to pop into the ass. And it's okay. I'm going to bust his balls on the Facebook Messenger really soon. So right after this, because he's going to get a hard time from me. So. Oh, and we're getting requests for another cocktail hour. Well, I don't drink very much anymore. You don't drink any less either. And shut up. So maybe we'll have to do that really soon. But Anyway, I'm getting towards the end of the program here, so I want to thank everyone for stopping by. And I didn't really even get to talk about what I really wanted to talk about, except I did get that out in the open that I'm going to make a bunch of weird content for you, and you guys are just going to have to deal with it. That's just the way it's going to have to be. So, yeah, and I appreciate you for stopping by and all these things. And maybe we'll get more reviews if I show my face next time. Don't know. Maybe it's the face. Is that what it is? Am I too sexy for this program? See, now I'm all getting a big head and everything. But anyway, next time on the YELLKAOS program, I hope to have a mature discussion of Lego, because if you didn't know, there's been some discrimination lately. So apparently the Merlin Entertainment, the people that run Legoland, have these things spread throughout the country called Legoland Discovery Centers, which are essentially shrunken Legolands. If you're familiar, there's a few malls, I think, and installations throughout the country that have something called Camp Snoopy, which is a slice of a theme park here in California known as Knott's Berry Farm. So it's essentially a small theme park inside a mall or that sort of space. And they have one in Arizona, and I don't know where this was, but apparently a gentleman, an older gentleman, was barred entry from one of these places because they only allow children. And the defense I heard was that it was more like a like they didn't give their, now they're a private organization and they can do what they want, but I heard I guess the reasoning they give was that it's aimed at children. It's like, what has that to do with anything? I mean, if you're going to have an excuse for why you're going to single out somebody and discriminate, at least have a good reason. That's all I really hope. So that's something I hope to focus on. And then I find out that not too long ago, not right after, but a little while later, that there was a married couple that too wanted to go in. And this is going to spark like some sort of an internet debate about why these people aren't being let in. And my question is how Merlin Entertainment really is going to let all of this adult money not come to them, because I really don't see the problem. And I've never seen a business that would stand out front and say, no, I don't want your money, go somewhere else. So that's something that really needs to be addressed. So, and before I go, we got a guitar question. Finally, thank you so much, from Tim Werasnik. Tim, thanks for dropping me a question. I hear so much from you, and I don't get a chance to say things back. I apologize. I'm going to try and be better about that. But he wants to know if I've ever heard of a guitarist by the name of Jack Thamarat. I'm not familiar with Jack, but I tell you what, Tim, I am going to jump right on and check that out right away. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for indulging me and letting me do this in audio format. And I hope to see you again real soon. We'll see you again. And I promise, if you don't hear from me throughout the week, you'll see me again next week right here, right about this time, right here at Google Hangouts. Thank you so much. Don't forget, check me out on your social media. Thank you so much. Goodbye.